press. I think before we get started, we need a moment of silence. My name is Malik Shabazz, spelled M-A-L-I-K, S-H-A-B-A-Z-Z. I am an attorney. I'm here specifically on this mission representing black lawyers for justice. And I'm here to assist the family as an advisor and to help young Megan in this hour. We have here today the pastor, spiritual guide to the family, Bishop Carter. We have family members here. Quite obviously, we have Megan's mother, Carmen Williams, who is here with us. We have also here from Chicago, representatives from the Nation of Islam. We have attorney Arif Muhammad. He's also an interested attorney in this case. He's here representing Minister Louis Farrakhan. We have from the Mid-Atlantic region from the Nation of Islam, Minister Kadir Muhammad. Brother Kadir Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, who are interested in the affairs of this case. I'm here from Washington. Why are we here? It's obvious that this is one of the most sick, horrendous, sadistic, and evil hate crimes that has ever occurred in American history. And that's something to be said in light of U.S. history. I haven't heard of a hate crime of this magnitude since Emmett Till. It's one thing to read about these charges, one thing to read about this case. And when you read it, you almost say in your mind that this can't be true. It's just too horrific, it's too outrageous to be true. But after this preliminary hearing with just one of the defendants, Karen Burton, and hearing the evidence, hearing the statements, hearing the confessions, hearing the graphic details of the stabbings, graphic details of the beatings, graphic details of forced sexual activity, forced sexual assault, graphic details of the word nigger being used repeatedly over and over again through these crimes, leaves me with one inescapable, undoubtable conclusion that this is no doubt a hate crime of the worst magnitude. And while I really do appreciate the efforts that the prosecutors making in this case, certainly charges of kidnapping and malicious wounding, assault in the commission of a felony, first-degree sexual assault, and innumerable counts of battery. Certainly these are serious charges. We strongly contend here that beyond any reasonable doubt that this is also a hate crime. This is a state hate crime, and this is a federal hate crime. And for the United States Justice Department to come here and to rule that this was not a hate crime and that they are not going to open it as a hate crime is unacceptable. We say to the United States Justice Department, if it has any merit or validity at all, that this case must be reopened and prosecuted as a federal hate crime. We say to the prosecutor here, good job so far, Mr. Prosecutor, but you must also add the charges of state hate crime charges here. If the state hate crime charges of West Virginia are worth the books that they are printed on, because the evidence is overwhelming. The sexual assaults, the making of young Megan, who is here, to eat human feces, rat feces, dog feces, over this horrific and torturous week, while repeatedly using racial slurs. That is a hate crime. If it's not a hate crime, then there is no such thing as a hate crime. We as a community, our dignity must be protected here. At least in this process, must be protected here. So we want to be clear. Family here agrees that this must also be prosecuted and charged as a hate crime. And so as we're here to help, you'll hear from Ms. Williams, the mother, in a moment, and Bishop Carter, the spiritual advisor, in a few moments. You will not hear from Megan Williams. Megan Williams, this is a time for healing. I can barely contain the tears from coming out of my eyes right now, empathizing, if I can, to a slight degree, of the pain and the suffering that this young sister has gone through. And you just still seeing the evidence, looking at the marks on her neck, her hair pulled from her, being tortured and abused over and over again. This is unspeakable, this is unimaginable, and we as a community are outraged.
I don't mean to interrupt. I don't mean to interrupt.
I'm coming to you in a moment. I'm coming right to you. Not going to be long, but I'm coming right to you. But we are outraged, and the nation is outraged. And we are going to come, we're going to man these trials, we're going to man these hearings, and we're going to engage in any kind of legal or political or any other activity that is necessary to bring justice in this case to these six sick defendants, career criminals, and to help bring healing to this young man. Because it may take a lifetime and then some for healing to take place in this case. So we'll open up in just a moment. I'll give you a chance. But I want to give her mother, who is under tremendous pain and pressure right now, an opportunity to speak.
As he said, listening to it and hearing it on the news, passing over, I don't understand how another person would affect or with another human being as they did my child. And just, thinking about it is really bad. And I mean, she wakes up at night, all hours of the night, screaming and crying, just, remembering. And I just pray that in time, the Lord, I know the Lord will heal her and make her better. But these people need to be dealt with. I really can't find the words to say.
I mean, my gut feeling, to be honest, sitting in that courtroom, is that they should be hung from the highest tree. Legally, for what they have done to this child. I don't even see a crime. The death penalty doesn't even seem to fit as a proper penalty for these series of crimes. This is outrageous. And I must say this before I pass it to the pastor here. I was outraged and insulted by the counties in this state to drag Megan Williams before the courts in this county on some minor check charges after all of that which we have just heard had occurred. I'm outraged that they would drag her into court and to charge her with these petty offenses after all that has occurred. I mean, that is an insult, that is outrageous, and those charges should be dropped right away, and the state of West Virginia and the various counties should apologize. Because in the land where I come from, that's called retaliation. Where I come from, that's called intimidation. Now, if these career criminals can have guns and weapons where they are operating and they have committed before this crime almost every crime in the book. And obviously parole and probation and court supervision and sanctions are not working in West Virginia. And they should be outraged, this state, bringing this young lady into court. And so we demand also that any of these little minor charges against Megan Williams be dropped right away. It's a question of some money. The money is there. But right now, this state should be doing everything to assist in the healing, of this young lady. I pass it now to Bishop Carter.
Good evening. I'm Bishop James Cole from Charleston. Firstly, I'd like to just thank God that Megan was found in time.
It's true.
And for those officers that made the arrest, I thought that was swiftly done. And that we have her back with us now. Though her fleshly wounds are healing, it's going to take some time for her emotional wounds to heal. And every time we hear the reading the statements, we come here for preliminary hearings, that's like a wound that's being hit and opened again. And I don't think that closure will come until justice is done. My final comment is that the law is for the lawless. Thank you.
I agree with the pastor. I believe that they absolutely were planning to kill Megan Williams. I absolutely believe that, and they were going to dump her in the lake if this had not been discovered in time. And so we will stay and press on this case, all the court hearings, and give the family everything they need. And we also will be traveling to Washington. We've made contact with and will be meeting with members of the Congressional Black Caucus to bring this before the Congress in general. Opposition is, of course, this is a hate crime, and there are hate crimes occurring against blacks throughout the country, and that congressional hearing should be brought forth. And this case must be brought to the Justice Department. The Justice Department must rule this case. I have the father here. Come here, brother. Please, don't leave him to himself. I just want you to see him. I don't know if he has a statement. This has to be handled for him. Brother Matthew Williams is here with us also. I don't know if he has something to say, but if he does, he should.
To real killings against Logan and all Logan County and their people. And I mean, we got to do something about this.
We'll take your question.
The question I'm going to ask, I've been in this state doing this job since 1993, and I've talked to people from the U.S. Attorney's Office down to the prosecutor here and the prosecutors there, even in the newsroom. White people don't see this as a hate crime and see this as an important aspect of this crime. Have you not heard that the whole case? Are they not telling you that even if they could prove it, it carries less of a weight? I'm just wondering what you guys from New York and Chicago can do to change your minds. Their minds are solidified from my newsroom to this courthouse that this is not part of the case. What can you possibly do to change that?
If these heinous acts, which are well described, kidnapping, torture, forcing Megan to perform oral sex, forcing oral copulation on her, beating and stabbing her at the same time while saying, this is what we do to niggas.
But they're saying that jeopardizes the case legally.
Let me talk to them, and it does not.
That's what they're saying.
And it does not. And it does not. Hate, man, let me finish my statement.
Sorry.
Because this is the exact type of situation that hate laws were, hate crimes and hate laws were designed for. The commission of a crime, the commission of a felony at the same time, overtly and objectively expressing your racial animosity towards the victim. And if stabbing her and saying, this is what we do to niggas, this is what we do, as she has told me, to Kunta Kinte, And as we heard right in their own statements, that they were using racial slurs over and over again, it's clear that race was a motivation. And so hate crimes here on a state level does not throw out kidnapping. It does not throw out malicious wounding. It does not throw out sexual assault. It only enhances. It only enhances.
I'm telling you, I've made those same
Well,
arguments.
we're making our statement, okay? Because obviously, you have said that many, it's hard convincing people in the state that this had a racial motivation. That means, like Brother John Shabazz here, who is our investigator, and who's done a lot of investigative work here in the state, what he says is true, is that there's an insensitivity towards blacks or African Americans in the state. And that everything is not as rosy, except for this incident, as it might appear. And that blacks who make up not even 2% of the population, are frequent victims of marginalization, discrimination, and other forms of racial violence. That is not to say that there's not goodwill anywhere in the state. As Mr. Williams will tell you, there is. But obviously, if there's a problem bringing this as a hate crime in this state, then we have a major problem with justice in this state. Hate crime does not negate all of the other offenses. It only adds penalties, it only adds years and enhances the penalty for the sentence. And that's not the way it is in West Virginia. That's the way it should be, and the law should be changed immediately. That's certainly the way it is on a federal level. On a federal level, that these crimes should be charged and hate crimes should be added to the charges to stiffen and enhance the penalty. In case, go to the grand jury or case, at trial, or at some point, that all of this doesn't necessarily stick. You know, I don't know what justice will look like when a jury is convened in this state. I don't know if it will resemble the peers of the victim. It certainly will resemble the peers of the defendants. So all possible charges should be filed on a state and a federal level. That is to protect this prosecution in case somehow or another Miss Burton can come out and show, or somehow her defense counsel doesn't appear to be very competent, in my opinion, fortunately for us. But in case somehow or another, some of them are able to attempt to legally wiggle out of some of their statements or their charges, all possible charges should be brought. And so that is our position. Disagree, and whoever's saying that all of these charges have to be dropped and changed in exchange for hate crime charges is misleading the public and playing up to a constituency.
What I'm understanding is that the position is that the hate crime charge is a burden that they can't meet in this case, because they would have to prove that. Because I'm just telling you what I've been told by prosecuting attorneys, including this one, that they have to be able to prove that race was the overriding issue that led to the crime. Therefore, I mean, anybody here go to that meeting it?
Sir, it does not have to, sir, it has to be a substantial issue, not the overriding issue. Now, to me, from what I heard, it's overriding. But as a,
to you and to me, but I'm just saying, you're talking about the 2%.
I think what he's referring to is that the NAACP is presenting what he's saying here. They came and they held a meeting, and they told people at that meeting who were very upset with the community that they wouldn't be able to handle it. So hearing that from two major respected black organizations, two very different messages, I think he's asking for clarity.
I'm just wondering what you guys can do, that, I mean, you're from Charleston, you've heard what I've heard, right?
Let me say this case is going to get moved, politically at least, beyond West Virginia. And so this case cannot possibly, in its totality, be tried in the narrow confines of West Virginia. Yes, absolutely, this must continue, this prosecution. But if there's a problem here, and clearly it is, in meeting the basic criterion for a hate crimes act, which is simply committing of a crime where there's a substantial nexus to racism or racist activity or racist words or language. Now, if you're committing an assault of several levels on someone. I don't see what we're missing here. And you're calling them nigger.
And stabbing them.
That's
Reportedly
and
stabbing.
Stabbing them, saying this is what we do to them. If that's not a hate crime, then all hate crimes should be wiped from the books. And the reason why it may not be being charged on a state level as a hate crime, probably due to some political activity that we can't necessarily go along with.
Which just comes back to my original question. Reputation, Nation of Islam, and I don't know a whole lot about your group. I'm just wondering what you guys from out of state.
I'm from this state.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm wondering what can be
done. This ain't the only hate crime that's happened here. There was a J.R. Warren.
I remember J.R. Warren led to the passage of our hate crime.
Yeah, but that case right there was not prosecuted.
Right, it was not.
And it should have been prosecuted as a hate crime. There was also another case down in Beckley where the man was killed by a woman trespassing in someone else's yard.
Booker,
her defense
remember that.
Was that she was afraid of black people. We asked Attorney Malik to come here because we need to be protected here in this state. I'm a father myself. I shot Wiggins because I got two daughters. And I'm offended by this. I'm terribly outraged by this kind of thing here in this state. I'm a native of West Virginia, and I ask the people to side with the Wiggins family all throughout the state and the country. We need to be protected at this time.
Do you think that her case has been lost in the coverage that the Agenda 6 has gotten, some other things that just seem to happen and come up at the same time?
No, this case is 100 times worse than the Agenda 6 case, which I'm very closely involved in.
But you know what I mean by media attention?
Well, I can't pay attention to the way you guys run the media. But I can say that we are here because this case is a case of national interest. It's a national interest in every organization that is here, every organization that will come here. And that we are here. That the nation has interest in the plight of this family and this young lady, and that their interest is brought to bear. And so there will be many more organizations. There will be others that will come here to support. We are not going to leave them isolated here in the mountains of West Virginia. We study the history of the civil rights movement. And the states always, in the struggle against the injustices against our people, segregation specifically, always wanted the states to handle it and to leave outsiders out. That's the argument that Bull Connor and George Wallace and the other racist segregationists made, and to try to leave our people at the mercy of state officials. And so this is a case that will just started and will continue to attract national attention. Again, we're going soon with the family to the halls of Congress, and all of us are going to Congress because members of Congress who we're in touch with are outraged and they want to know what is happening in the case. And so we come here to perform an investigation. We come here to work the ground and travel the highways and to come in here to make sure that this family is protected. On October the 20th, in a couple of weeks, we're going to be having a fundraiser and a support rally for the family to try to help defray medical costs and other stress that is going on with the family in this hour. And I'm hoping, I don't know, because I don't want to break protocol, but I'm hoping it will be at the pastor's church. Will it? What's that church again?
The Holy Cathedral of Christ. 915 Overton Cathedral of Christ. 915 Main Street, Charleston.
The Holy Cathedral of Christ, 915 Main Street in Charleston. That's Saturday, if you don't mind, the 20th of October.
I got one other question, if I can ask. Can you talk about the idea of everybody knows how terrible alleged crime is, but does it hurt even more because of diminished capacity? Can you talk about that? I haven't heard that at all. About mental capacity for anger at all. Have you talked about that a whole lot? I haven't heard it. But it's there, right?
Yes. Like I said, physically, she's healing, but mentally, I mean, like I said, it's going to be a long process. She had nightmares, She wakes up all hours of the night. Actually, I have to sleep with her because she, when she wakes up, she always lying and she jumps in her sleep all hours of the night. And she doesn't really talk about it.
See, what I'm talking about is like even before you and that kind of thing. I mean, we're talking about a fully mentally functional adult.
Yeah, yes, she's an adult, but child is a child, and she's my child.
Right.
And it does not matter whether she was in special ed or regular school or whatever. She's still my child, and I feel like no child in the world, I mean, you know, should be treated unfairly.
I agree
but
with that. I'm just wondering if that made it easier for people to take advantage.
I understand what you're saying. She is very want to make friends easily, and you know, dying to meet friends and whatever. But I mean, I don't know if that had a lot bearing on it or if it had any. But regardless whether it did or not, like I said, whether she was in special ed or regular school, I don't think that had anything to do with it. I just think she made the wrong choice, met the wrong people, you know, and was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And like I said, she likes to make friends, and she makes friends easily.
Thank God somebody called the cops.
Thank the Lord for that. But I do say this, that if it hadn't been for the Lord on her side, I don't think she would have made it out alive.
Very true. She's lucky to be alive. You're correct. That makes this crime even more outrageous, if it can get more outrageous. Not only is it an offense to her as a woman, not only is it an offense to her as a black person being the racial aspect to this crime, but also a crime against a person with special needs. I mean, that alone, her having special needs and being treated this way by these career criminals makes this even more outrageous. So we just represent a fraction of the people that are around the nation that are upset, that are outraged by this. We'll be back. We'll be bringing buses back for October 20th for the support rally for the family. And we just got to get back to our work right now. Thank you for listening to what we have to say. We have to try to get busy helping this young child to heal and making sure this family is healed.
Martin, I have one question for you.
Sure.
Do you know anywhere where it has been a hate crime charge here in this state?
I haven't been able to find one. I've been researching it for weeks.
That's why we're here today. That's why we stand like this.
I'm not gonna write no statement.
And that our advocacy is to help and support her case, support this cause, raise attention to racism and hate crimes so that we can eradicate racism, eradicate hatred, eradicate hate crimes in the state. No, I just follow up. Something that we're proving is that we weren't here for a one-time show and that we're going to continue to struggle in this case and to continue to help our people. Yes, ma'am. I gotta go.
Mr. Shabazz said that we would have a follow-up rally and just to support Megan, let her know that we're behind her, and let her know that the people in the various organizations are behind her. She went through a term, and hopefully that won't happen again.
How do you think the community has been, since you mentioned the November 3rd rally, since then it's been over a month, how do you think the community has there's still been a form of unity that you guys have had, that people have been following along?
Yes, I think it has. This follow-up rally hopefully will bring them back together, but this has been really difficult due to the fact that the prosecutor's attorney, I think, is probably dragging his feet a little bit. I was told that he asked the Attorney General an opinion on hate crime, and I think he's just dragging his feet. He was elected prosecutor in Logan County, and he needs to act on that and focus on indicting the individuals who committed these despicable and barbaric acts of violence.
This vibe is here, our sharpening is on the way, and we're just here to have a good time, amen? So just bear with us. Our praise team is going to start at 7 o'clock. We're going to get you in the mood. If you feel like dancing, snap your fingers, running around the church, do whatever you feel like, all right? All right. Thank you.
Everything before y'all today, man. And I'm gonna try to get through it without crying. Because you know, sometimes y'all can have brothers that's kin to you biologically. Amen. But there's something else to have a brother that ain't no kin, but he act like he's more kin than those that's for you. Amen. It says in the Bible that a brother sticks close, but a friend sticks closer than a brother and willing to give up his life. When a person is willing to put their name and their reputation on the line for you, you better recognize.
That's right.
It ain't all the time gonna be your family. But it's gonna be who God put there. Amen?
To the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their illustrious names, I greet all of you in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And to all that only means peace be upon you. I'm going to really try to do as Brother Malik has allowed me to do. I have to thank him. I watched this brother from Howard University when he was a student rallying at that time with an organization he started.